How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and today I have a review for you on the Turner CNC Jackalope XL. This has been a really interesting review process for this knife. A lot of kind of strange things happened, but it was also just a very good experience. I really enjoyed this knife. Just before we get into anything, full disclosure, Turner CNC did send this over for me to review. I had reached out to them because I really like their products, and I had had some in the past that I really enjoyed. They were gracious enough to send this along for me to review. And again, full disclosure, I always give them the option of, keeping it sterile and giving it back to them after I kind of just do an overview so they can sell it again, or letting me do the testing and then keeping the knife. Again, they were very gracious in allowing me to keep this knife, so no money was exchanged. They're not telling me what to say, but they did send this to me for free and allow me to keep the knife. So that's out of the way here. I will do my best not to let that affect my review in any way. Before we get into the actual review here, we'll do all of the spec, size comparison, and use and all of that stuff. We have to thank the sponsor of the channel, as always, Auxiliary Manufacturing. Mike over at Auxiliary Manufacturing is making awesome custom USA-made fixed blades. If you like Bowies, which my guess is you do if you're watching this video, you'll probably like his Pocket Bowie model as well. He's got a bunch of other different models. Another one of my favorites is this Sumi here. Just kind of this tiny little reverse edge style knife. I actually kind of just use it as my desk knife, just doing little cutting tasks. But he makes awesome knives right here in the USA, one-man shop, and he really helps support the channel. So if you're interested in his stuff, I do have a discount code with him. Code Justified10 will get you 10% off your order on his website. So down in the description, there will be links to his Instagram, his website, and that code. So if you're interested, please go check those out. Let him know I sent you, and thank you as always to Mike for sponsoring the channel. So let's get into this real quick. So specs, real quick, what we got here is we have a clip point blade made out of CPM 3V, which is a very high toughness and high edge retention steel. The thickness on this here is 0.155, which is about 5/32. So you're right in between your 1/8 inch and 3/32 and 3/16 stock thicknesses, kind of some of those standards. So it is a bit thicker of a stock, but this is a 3D machined hollow grind. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on here if I show that off. This is a hollow grind. It is a more shallow hollow grind than a lot of, like you'd see on some, hunting knives or production folders that have that really deep hollow grind. This is a more shallow hollow grind that performs kind of in between a hollow and a flat from my experience. We'll get more into that here in a little bit. The handles here are bolt-on. These happen to be the black G10. They also did send me a set of Ultim scales as well that we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then it is a full tang construction. These are easily removed with it. Oh, I thought my camera stopped there for a second. My apologies. It is still going. We're all good. But the handles here, the screws are slotted for pennies that you can take them apart very easily. There's a storage space inside. The sheath is Kydex. It did not come with this clip. It actually came with this soft loop here for horizontal carry, but you have a couple different mounting options. I happen to carry it with a discrete carry concepts clip. So just pancake style Kydex. Retention is very solid. Let's get you sizes on here. So you're looking at with your blade here, you're looking at right about a 4-inch blade. Your handle length, your grip area is going to be right around 3.5 inches, just over that if you go up to the right of the edge of the handle where the ricasso starts, and then your overall length is going to be about 7 3/4 inches. Handle thickness, let's check that out here. You're going to be right under 3/4 of an inch, and you got pinch points here on the back and on the front. You have a lanyard hole here in the back if you wanted to throw a lanyard on this. For me, I have I wear a medium-sized glove, medium-sized hands. I can get a full 4-finger grip on this. If I'm kind of choking back a little bit, I can just barely get that 4th finger on there. But that's about the size handle that you're working with there. And then one last thing that I always forget to do is give you guys a weight. So let me get this stuff out of here. So, weight, we are looking at, so without the sheath, you're looking at 3.7 ounces. With the sheath, now again, this has the clip on it, but you know, your loop's probably going to weigh about the same. With the sheath, you're looking at right under 5 ounces, 4.9 ounces. So for a 4-inch blade, with that kind of stock thickness, this is a fairly lightweight, easy to carry knife. Let me get you some size comparisons here. You know, let's just see. The first thing I got here, just what I have in my pocket today. This is the Williams blade design OZM002. This is the smaller version of their Kaiken, or Kaiken, I don't know how to say it. I can never pronounce any of their names, but gorgeous knives. So you can see next to each other, a decently similar overall length. And then you can see their stock thicknesses. But let me pull some other fixed blades out here for you to check out. Next up is going to be a Offensive Industries 3-inch Varger. I'm just going to start laying these out here again. Again, I'll give you some stock thicknesses comparisons. So this is 1/8 inch stock versus the 5/32. Here is a BW Knives Erebus Short. Again, 1/8 inch stock, so I won't show you that again. Here is a Offensive Industries Fenrir M, which I will show you because this is a 3/32, so there's your 3/32 versus your 5/32 blade stock thickness. Here's a very common one that a lot of you guys will probably know. Here's the Essie Zula. And again, 1/8 inch stock versus the... Actually, this might actually be close to the 5/32. I've never actually measured the Essie. I just assumed it was 1/8 inch. I think it's actually a little bit thicker than that. But that should be good for fixed blades. Let me pull out a couple folders just in case you're kind of new to the fixed blade game. Pardon me as I try to put all of this stuff away just to get some more room on my desk. So folders, give you some classics here that you'll probably be familiar with. If you're familiar with Emerson at all, this happens to be a ProTech Emerson CQC7 Auto, but pretty much the same overall dimensions as your Emerson CQC7. Here is Kershaw Blur. Here is TRM Neutron 2. Let's do Spyderco Para 3. That's actually a really good size comparison because the Para 3 is not a large knife, and as you can see, kind of with the shorter handle and the longer blade, this really isn't a huge fixed blade. I thought this was a lot bigger online. And then here is a Spyderco Indela. This is the K390 one. And one last one in case you guys are more familiar with the budget side of things and the Chinese knives. Here is the CJRB Pyrite, very popular right now. So that should give you a decent size comparison. If you guys, let me know what knives and stuff you like to see as size comparisons, because I'm always looking for new stuff to, make sure I give you guys a good wide enough range of size comparisons between, the fixed blade world, the kind of more custom makers versus, the production side of things, stuff everyone's familiar with. I will also pull out here, here's a Milwaukee Fastback. Here is a Leatherman Wave, and then the Leatherman Skeletool. So that should really cover all of our bases. All right, so pardon me as I put all that back. Let's get into this here. So this is a really interesting knife. As I had mentioned before when we were talking about size, I thought this was a lot bigger before I actually got it in hand. I had looked at the specs on the website, but I don't think I had realized that this is more of an EDC size knife. This is actually, I should have mentioned this earlier, this is the Jackalope XL. They do have a standard Jackalope, which has an even shorter handle and a much shorter blade. I do have a review on one of those if you go back. I'll try to remember to leave it in the description. But I do have a review on the smaller one as well. That one, for me, was kind of more of just a novelty, or maybe, if you wanted to carry it as a neck knife. I believe they come skeletonized. I think you can get like some 3D printed handles and stuff for them now. but you know, a little smaller, more neck knife or backup knife kind of size. This is what I would say, you know, more of a size that you can actually use for EDC, maybe even some like light field use, just because, you know, a little bit smaller handle. But I wasn't really sure what to expect with this because I kind of looked at it online and I was expecting something bigger, and then I got it and I was like, you know, the handle's a little small. I thought this was going to be a bigger knife, but I really ended up enjoying using this knife. And it does a lot of things well that I think you kind of need more specifically designed knives to do for other things. So a lot of that has to do with the blade shape, the thickness, and the grind and the steel. So talking about the steel here real quick, this is CPM 3V, and HRC is 60 with cryo. This does have a black DLC coating on it. From everything that I've researched, 60 is a very solid heat treat or HRC for 3V. Crucible, which is the company that makes CPM 3V, you know, Crucible Powder Metallurgy, they recommend 58 to 60 HRC for 3V, and then that cryo is going to just increase that performance as well. If you're not familiar with cryo, I did a little bit of research on it. I had kind of known the basics of it, but I read a little bit on Knife Nerds or Knife Steel Nerds, and then I listened to a video from Peter's Heat Treat. Basically, cryo is, there's kind of three different things you do in heat treating, or that you can do in heat treating. There's, you know, you're heating it up, which is, you know, you're heating it up and then quenching it very quickly to harden your steel, you know, before you actually, you know, heat that steel up. It's very soft, so you're heating it up, quenching it quickly. That makes the steel hard. You can then temper it, which is, you know, heating it up either in certain spots. You can do like differential heat treats where you can leave the spine softer and the edge harder, but you can kind of change a little bit of the hardness to get a little more toughness out of it. And then cryo is using something like liquid nitrogen and bringing it down below sub-zero temperatures. And that tightens the grain structure up and basically improves the performance of the steel in every way, specifically in edge retention and toughness. So this is about as high high HRC as Crucible recommends, and it has cryo, and it's got a DLC coating on it. So this should be a very, very high performing steel. One of the only drawbacks of 3V really is that it is not very corrosion resistant. It will rust on you, but with that black DLC, which has held up very well, I must add, with all the use, you can kind of see, if I put it like that, you can kind of see all those wear marks on there. But overall, this DLC holds up extremely well. I found the steel to be extremely tough. I did not get any chipping in the edge at all. There might be some little micro chipping, but you know, still cuts paper after all of the testing that I've done. I'm not doing it very well here on screen, but it does still cut paper, not as well as it did out of the box. The edge was extremely sharp right out of the box, and I have processed dozens of cardboard boxes with this. I've done food prep with it. I've done, you know, my wood tests where I hack at the wood, I stab at the wood and pry both ways. I did a little bit of fire prep with it, all that kind of stuff. So it's done very well. Cut through some denim, cut through some plastic tubing. This has held up extremely, extremely well. The grind on here is very interesting because, you know, you can kind of see back here, you see those machining marks here from how this was 3D milled. With that kind of process, you're able to kind of do your hollow grinds a little bit different. This is kind of almost to me like a hybrid flat and hollow grind. Where, you know, a lot of hollow grinds, if you're going to be like trying to feather stick or shave wood or something with it, it bites in too much. I did not find that to be the case with this hollow grind, but it does slim out that 5/32 blade stock enough to be very thin behind the edge. This absolutely blows through cardboard. Again, you have a little bit of flat. You have a nice flat section. You have a bunch of belly, so you can get down and cut on the table. And then again, the clip point with the swedge thins the tip out, that you're going to get a lot of good piercing. You know, if you had to use this as a defensive blade, you absolutely could. They do a couple of these models where they grind the swedge thinner and actually put a edge here on the back. This is not one of those, so this is more of the like utilitarian versions. But you can get these. I think they only did a couple of them. I don't think any of them are available right now, but they did do a couple with the sharpened swedge. So very happy with the overall performance of this. Now, I have to make a caveat here of we did have a little bit of a problem with the tip and the edge on the first one of these I got. I kind of left that out till now. This is actually the second knife, the second Jackalope XL I've gotten from Turner. So I'm going to cut in a little bit of footage from when I had that first one. We'll talk about what happened, and then we'll come back to the video. Hey guys, real quick, I'm taking this before I actually film the review, but I wanted to have this here before I send this back so I can cut it into the footage. I've probably already talked about it in the video, but here is the first knife I had received. As you can see, I had been using it quite a bit from the markings on the DLC there. DLC held up very well, the edge held up very well, but as you can see by that tip there, we had a little bit of issues with the tip. So, as with all my fixed blade reviews that are going to be any sort of hard use or tactical blades or anything like that, I do tip tests. So I just take a piece of 2x4 like this, stab it in a bunch of times, and then I do a couple stabs where I stab in and bend it both ways. Nothing crazy like getting it super deep and then like really torquing on it, just stab, bend. Do that a couple times. As you can see here, this one was all from this knife. I had done some, hacking on it like that. That held up fine. There was absolutely no edge deformation or anything like that. But I'm seeing if I can find it. Yeah, right there, you can see that tip ended up snapping off. Now, it did survive quite a few of these, and just on the last one, it happened to snap off. So I reached out to Turner. They said they had never seen this happen before. Again, this is 3V. On their website, it advertises as having a, quote, strong tip for hard use. So I wanted to test that out. Unfortunately, we did have a failure on the tip there. You can see right along the break. So they did just send me a new one here. This one's brand new. I haven't even started using it yet. Looks gorgeous, just like the other one. So I don't think I'm going to even bother doing another tip test with this one, just because I don't want to break another one of their knives. So this, you can let this speak for itself, whatever you guys, whatever opinions you want to draw from this. Like I said, I reached out to them. They said they had never seen this happen before. Theoretically, 3V should be able to withstand something like this. Now, I mean, the tip does get relatively thin. Here is the tip on the fresh one. It has a decently robust tip. It's not the thinnest tip in the world, but if the website says it should hold up to hard use, I wanted to see what it would do. So if I take this out, I'm going camping here this weekend, so I will take this out and do some more bushcraft stuff with it. I'm not going to purposefully stab and pry or anything like that, but if I get some wood, I'll do some light torquing on it just to see if we have any issues with this one. But before I send this one back to them for them to figure out what happened to it, I just wanted to get some footage here while I have both of them. So hopefully we'll cut this in here and it'll go with the rest of the review. So back to the video. All right, and we're back. So yeah, the tip did end up breaking. I still have this piece of wood here. I sent the other one back to Turner so they can kind of figure out what happened. But as you can see, the tip of the knife is stuck in there. You can see all of, I did the some hacking on here. I did do some more firewood processing and stuff. Obviously, I don't have that wood anymore. Shaving on this is pretty hefty stuff here. And it did end up holding up very well. Again, I did do more tip tests with this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I did end up doing a tip test on this one just to be sure, and it held up just fine. I can't remember if I talked about it in that other video, but also, that first one came absolutely shaving sharp from the factory. But after processing, just a couple cardboard boxes, I tried to cut paper with it, and it really was struggling getting through. I have used this one much more than that first one, and this one, hangs up in a couple places, but still cuts paper fairly well after much more use of that first one. The other one, I cut a couple cardboard boxes, and it really struggled through paper. It was still able to cut, with all the kind of utility cutting and stuff, but it wasn't shaving sharp anymore, I was really confused by. Again, 3V isn't the highest edge retention steel in the world, but it is pretty solid edge retention. I guess, especially at 60 HRC with cryo, it should have been holding an edge longer than that. So that compounded with the tip snapping, on Turner CNC's website, it says the tip is robust enough for hard use, so I wanted to test that out. Again, this one held up fine, and the edge is still cutting. So my guess is that something happened in the heat treat process, which happens. We don't want knives to have failures. It is disappointing to see that happen, but like I said, I talked to Turner. They said they've never seen that happen before. And I'm choosing to believe them on that. I've never heard anything about Turner's knives breaking. From everything I've heard, everyone is very happy with how they treat their steel. And this one has been a testament to that. This one is held up perfectly. I haven't chipped the edge out. I haven't broken the tip. The edge is held up very, very well. So I think that one was just a fluke. So, take that with what you will, but, I'm going to still choose to give my, stamp of approval that I think this can hold up to a decent amount of use. Again, it's not, it's not a 3/16 flat ground, like short saber ground, like Becker BK1 or anything like that. It's not going to be that level of tough, but as a EDC knife slash, tactical knife slash, it can kind of fit into some more outdoor and hard use roles in a pinch. I think this is going to hold up just fine for you guys. And I have no problem with, taking this out and doing some more harder use with it. In addition, I think it could very well be a good skinning knife. Again, with the DLC, if you got the heat treat finish on there, I might worry about rust a little bit more. But with the DLC, this is going to be a very, very nice skinning blade shape. You're going to have to be careful with that tip if you're getting up and opening up a belly, but you can kind of put your finger down here and kind of guide that edge or that tip. Overall, I'm not concerned about this steel after getting the second one here. If this one had also had issues, I'd be very wary. But as things stand right now, I'm happy with how this one did. I think the first one was just a fluke. Now, in terms of the handles and just the overall shape and everything like that, at first I was very disappointed at how short this handle was, and I was like, I see a lot of knife handles where it's like, man, I really wish they just added like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch more length on this handle, just so you could use it in more grips. But I've started to appreciate kind of, just as I appreciate knives with long, like full-size handles and little stubby blades, I've started to appreciate the inverse as well, of having, a full 4-inch blade, which is, I would consider a full-size EDC knife, even like a little bit on the larger side, especially if you were talking about folders. But I digress, and I don't want to keep ranting, but the handle length on here, especially when tucked inside the waistband like this, at a horizontal angle, the blade is not that much to have down inside your waistband, and then you have a very concealable short handle. Also if you were going to be carrying this outside the waistband on like a soft loop or a tech lock or something, having that shorter handle, you could still get a full grip on everything. But it's going to conceal a little bit better. Also, if you wanted to put a small DCC or an ulti clip on here, you could carry this in the pocket, which again, having that shorter handle is going to be better for that. So, I was in my mind when I was getting this knife, I was thinking of it more as a larger fixed blade, more of an outdoors or dedicated tactical knife. But now that I've started to see this more as an EDC blade, I really appreciate that smaller handle more. Now, if you have really big hands, you wear like a large glove, or you're pushing it into like XL hands territory, this might be a little small for you, or you might want to put some kind of lanyard fob on here. But I'd say anywhere from small to the smaller side of large gloves, I think you're going to be very happy with this. The G10 scales here do have a decent amount of texture. I'm not worried about slipping on these in either your reverse or your forward grips, especially with these kind of like Coke bottle pinch points in here that really securely locks into your hand. Now, you can do hammer grip, saber grip. You can do forward grip edge ins comfortably enough. Reverse grip edge out works well. You can do reverse grip edge in. You kind of just have to shimmy your hand up a little bit here, and you're kind of just thumb capping straight across. I wouldn't choose to use this grip, but if you had to like get underneath and pop like a strap or something with this, I would, but I wouldn't use this as like a dedicated reverse edge fighting knife or anything like that. It's definitely more suited to reverse grip edge out or forward grip edge out. So there's something to keep in mind here. Real quick, I am going to pull out the pennies here that this came with, just so you guys know. I did save both of these cards. So the first one and the second one are the exact same 3V 60 HRC with cryo. So, the steels were exactly the same. It also did come with some frog lube. You know, if you had the heat treat finish on here, you might want to throw that on your blade just to keep it more rust resistant. Some stickers in there, and then they sent these pennies along. I'm going to quick pop these handles off so I can show you the Ultim scales, and so I can show you that storage pocket there on the inside. So bear with me here as I take these off. I prefer the black G10 just because it's a little bit more grippy than the Ultim is. The Ultim has the same texture, but just as the nature of Ultim is, you know, it's a little bit more slick. I don't think, you know, for EDC, these are probably going to be fine, but if you're going to be taking this outdoors or you're at all going to be getting these wet, I would definitely go with the black G10. I'd love to see some micarta scales or some Taro Tough scales just to give you even more retention in hand and wet conditions. But as you can see here, there's a small pocket inside of the scales, and then the knife itself is skeletonized. So, you know, if you wanted to use this skeletonized, you absolutely could. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but if you really wanted a lightweight, like backpacking knife or something, you could. You could take this off, you could cord wrap the handle. I actually think this would be really cool with a cord wrap on it. But then let me pop these Ultim scales on here really quick. And as we're talking about it, these hardware are all made in-house as well, which is very cool. As far as I'm aware, all of their processes are done in-house, including making the hardware, which is always really cool to see in-house hardware made, because, you know, they can more specialize and fit it exactly to what they want. So I had changed these scales before on the first knife. It is a little bit tricky making sure everything's getting lined up properly, because again, there's no locating holes or slots or anything on here. You kind of just have to feel when the handle is lined up and then slip your hardware through. So getting these on here helps locate it a little bit, but you are going to have to fidget with these a little bit. One thing I will say on the hardware, I would prefer if these were cleaned off a little bit better. I as someone who has been a machinist and has worked in many machine shops, like, I get it. Sometimes you forget to blow your parts off or wipe them down or whatever, but, you know, you're getting all this residue on the hardware and stuff, so I would like to see that cleaned up. That is a very, very minor nitpick, but, you know, something that just, for a knife of this price, it would be nice to see the hardware a little bit more clean right from the factory. So again here, as I'm putting this together, I didn't get that quite lined up right, so all you have to do then is just loosen up the hardware a little bit and kind of shimmy the scales around a little bit more to try to get them all lined up. That is something else I would like to see, you know, for scales that are supposed to be, you know, quick swap, take them on and off, get stuff out of the scales. It would be nice if there was a way that they had some kind of locating pin or something, just so it was easier to line these up. So I think that's pretty good now. I get these snugged up. Again, very nice that you don't have to use any kind of tools to take this apart. I do like that. So there it is with the Ultim. It does look very cool. I do like the translucent look of Ultim. Now, you know, they call this spot inside here like a smuggler stash. So, you know, if you're actually trying to hide something in here, Ultim is not going to be it, because, you know, you can see through those scales. I would pick the black G10 for. Apologies, guys, my camera actually did cut out there, giving me a storage notification. So we're going to quick wrap this up. Again, all I was just saying with those handles is, yeah, Ultim's a little bit more slippery. You can see through it, but they do look great. So if you're going to be using this for EDC, Ultim's fine. Any kind of more serious use, I'd pick the black G10. Last kind of final thoughts. I just wanted to go over the sheath real quick. I had mentioned in my kind of first impressions, the Kydex is very, very thin, and I was kind of worried about how that would hold up long term. For me, the Kydex has held up fine, and I think inside the waistband where it's more protected, it's going to be okay. If you were going to be carrying this outside the waistband, especially like outdoors, and it's going to get banged up, I might suggest getting a custom sheath made for this. Me personally, I'm probably going to send this off to Offensive Industries to get a pocket sheath made for it. But I think the Kydex is absolutely suitable for what it is. The retention is absolutely solid. There's no rattle, no play, no nothing. It's easy enough to get out. It clicks in very securely. And for the way I was carrying it, it was very easy to sheath and unsheath. You can get a full grip on it just like that. So, before my camera dies here or anything like that, I just want to wrap this up with some final thoughts. Again, thank you, Turner CNC, so much for sending this over. I really enjoyed my time with this. Thank you for being cool about, me breaking the tip of your knife and, getting me taken care of with all that. Overall, guys, if you're looking for an EDC Bowie that's going to be very high performance, but still EDCable, I would highly recommend this knife. I really, really enjoy it. The 3V with this kind of grind and this stock thickness, I think, is a very high performance little package here. So if this is something you're interested in, I will leave links down in the description to their website. Definitely go check these out. Let them know I sent you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, please leave them down in the comment section. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.